now, basically with regard to the statement made by Desmond Tutu, saying that there are many allegations against Sri Lankan government, and you have, in response, you have replied back. With regard to this, what do you have to say?
Well, essentially, if you look through their statements, it's a lot of old generalizations that are rehashed and not enough stress on what they also feel we should be doing. They register that there have been lots of positive developments. And, of course, they mention that most people have now been resettled. All I would say to these people is they must engage more, because let's say a year ago they were all going around saying we're never going to resettle people. And we pointed out at the time that we were not resettling immediately for various reasons, all of which I felt were entirely justified, and no one could argue against them, because we pointed out the difficulties with demining, we pointed out the difficulties with regard to infrastructure, and we said there are security considerations. I mean, in no other country in the world have such a high proportion of displaced been resettled so quickly. Of course, there are things that could be moving faster, but you have to remember there are political contexts. We had a series of elections over the last year in which you had some really rather cynical politicking on the part of the opposition, which suggested that they would try to take advantage on either side, extremism in either way. And these are great problems that any country faces. The Minister of External Affairs pointed out last week in Parliament that the American State Department report referred to the request of the leader of the opposition to pressurize the government. You know, this sort of behavior doesn't go on in other countries, so we have no idea what sort of lobbying these political forces are doing on people like poor Bishop Tutu. So these are areas where we have to be cautious, but we would certainly welcome distinguished people like that engaging in a positive spirit with us. They claim they have written to us, but I'm afraid we have no real understanding of what they have written or said. And I don't know whether they have. I'm sure they have, but in what spirit they have written remains to be seen. I think we have found that many countries which want us to move quickly on these matters have done so in a very diplomatic fashion. I think of India, obviously, which never swerved from its opposition to terrorism, but immediately after terrorism was finished, the Indian and Sri Lankan governments came out with a very liberal communique about resettlement and all that. So I think people who want us to move forward should really take a leaf out of the Indian book and not engage in what I term megaphone diplomacy.
Thank you very much, Professor.